Hi, this is the Unwilling Pawn. I'm continuing with my war in Afghanistan and 9/11 conspiracy theory, and the sub-series war in Afghanistan, the big part of the 9/11 conspiracy. All of the events related to war in Afghanistan. We're in the Western hegemony subsection of this paper, and I talked about the war on terrorism, obviously, and I talked about Zbigniew Brzezinski, the founders. I talked about the 20-year Afghanistan war. How did this war last for 20 years? All the tactics that were used, the mindsets, the background, the Taliban, all of that. But we close it off with the military-industrial complex. Dick Cheney said that capturing Osama bin Laden was the ultimate goal of the war in Afghanistan. Recall from Empire Files' two informative video documentaries, Afghanistan War Pays Off Big for Generals Who Lied, and Never Forget, Lessons of the Post 9/11 Warpath. Those are the two videos. I shared them before. I referenced them before. And if you recall from that, the Taliban had already offered surrender and to extradite Osama bin Laden to the U.S. America refused, and bin Laden escaped Afghanistan later that year. We can hear what many of us may recall, all of the lies told and cruel domestic policies enacted, like the stop-loss program. I mean, you're facing Taliban. It would make sense that you would send your best warriors. These people are already rising from the ashes. They have a rough, tough life. These kinds of people, you consider them terrorists or whatever. You're going to send your little kids who are totally untrained, who didn't have any idea. They're not lifelong military. Obviously, even in the Vietnam War, if you remember, a lot of people, and all over the world, a lot of people have, within the military, they have civilian roles, or more educated roles, engineering roles, or medical professional, whatever. I mean, they're not fully trained for combat. And those are even veterans. Like, they're not the ideal person you would send to face the Taliban. And you certainly don't send kids who are, obviously serving their country, also looking to make their career, and live their life. It's set up their career, set up their life, and they thought they were getting good education, serving their country as well, helping the military. But you don't send those kids in the front infantry. I mean, they're not suitable for that. But with the stop-loss program, you just keep those kids over there. Oh, we need soldiers for the war. So all of that cruelty to keep these wars going indefinitely. We can see video evidence and news clips about the war crimes committed in multiple theaters, including Afghanistan. I'm talking about from these videos we can see. We can see how they abandoned the allies they claimed to be saving from Islamic militants. We can see how they dishonored their own soldiers after they fought enraged Muslims defending their countries for Uncle Sam. And just see how the money rolled in for America's ruling elite and the military-industrial complex, who didn't send their own children to the wars and plundered hard-earned American taxpayer money. About 70% of the retired generals and admirals were later on the boards or in some way employed by the same defense contractors and consultancy firms who got all of the contracts for the wars in the Muslim world. Them and their buddies, they get all the contracts. They make sure the United States is the ones who's footing the bill, the American people, the tax dollars. They go and they pay their buddy contractors. So we get all the contracts, and of course, because we got them the contracts, we're the generals. We advised our country and our government, our military, hey, these are the right guys to get all the supplies from, get the whatever, the technology, whatever we need. These are the right consultancy firms. These are the right contractors. And after, obviously, they retire, those consultancy firms and contractors have to pay the piper. They say, okay, well, you helped us out. You got us all these contracts. Of course, we'll give you a place on the board. This is all about money and business for the top level people. For the little people, they'll say, okay, well, you need to serve your country. And if you just cry about the stop-loss program or kids getting killed by these rough, tough Taliban or anyone else, ISIS or whatever it is, You cry about that, they'll just say, oh, well, hey, you're dishonoring his sacrifice. Well, he didn't really go to sacrifice. He shouldn't have been in the front lines. He's not trained for that. He's just a little kid. He just got out of college. He doesn't know what the hell he's getting into. And you did nothing but lie to the American people about the war. So you send little kids untrained, unprepared, to face really pissed off, enraged Muslims. And while the generals and their families and their buddies and their business partners are making literally trillions of dollars. No one amongst the ruling elites were held accountable for all the hell they raised on this planet, including in their own country, the United States of America. Until people raise awareness about who the criminals really are, until people really understand how they were manipulated, this will happen over and over again. There are many estimates as to how much money America wasted for the wars in Afghanistan and throughout the Muslim world. Here is one video on how Congress gave 5 defense contractors $2 trillion during only the war in Afghanistan. So there's a video here, 2.0 trillion. I've given the link here in my blog, obviously. And I've given the link to the blog, obviously, in my video, in the YouTube video. So you can click on the link and see the entire blog and follow along. And you can see all the links that I shared there. So $2.02 trillion went to top 5 defense contractors in Afghanistan. That's the name of the video. Remember, this only covers some of the official costs for the war in Afghanistan only. And it doesn't even begin to cover corruption, paying off warlords to accomplish goals, and private military contractors who were used in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and elsewhere. Some estimates put the total cost to the American taxpayers at around $8 trillion for all of the wars in the Muslim world. The money didn't go to a good cause. It didn't go to good, needy people. And just think of what America could have done with this much money for its own people. Infrastructure, social services, etc. As stated before, the Taliban offered both to extradite Osama bin Laden to the United States and also complete surrender back in 2001. But the US refused, and bin Laden escaped Afghanistan. According to the 2019 Afghanistan papers published by the Washington Post, the generals lied to the American people to keep the war going on for 20 years. We will now list out the generals who made well-known gains in their personal careers because of the war perpetuated in Afghanistan. Recall that this does not include corruption, money made from heroin smuggling, opium production, or any other under-the-table money or gains, or intangible benefits. General Roberts Van Antwerp, Commander of Reconstruction in Afghanistan, now a member on the board of Calibri Systems, a defense contractor. General James Mad Dog Mattis, Commander 1st Marines Brigade in Afghanistan 2001, now on the board of General Dynamics, another defense contractor. General Tommy Franks, Central Command Chief and Commander of Afghanistan Invasion 2001, now disgraced for stealing money from wounded veterans via scam charity. General Hugh Shelton, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff 2001, now a member on the boards of Antoine International and Protective Products of America, defense contractors. General Richard Myers, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff 2001 to 2005, now a member on the boards of Northrop Grumman and Raytheon, defense contractors. General Peter Pace, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff 2005-2007, now a member on the board of Pelican Products, a defense contractor, and a partner in Bearman Capital, a private equity firm. General Dan McNeil, International Security Assistance Force Afghanistan, ISAF, Commander 2007 to 2008, now a member on the board of Defense Alliance of North Carolina, a defense industry non-profit so-called. Admiral Mike Mullen, Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff 2007 to 2011, now a member on the boards of General Motors and Affinity, a defense contractor. General Jeffrey Schlesser, Afghanistan Joint Task Force Commander 2008 to 2009, now Executive Vice President of Bell Aircraft, a defense contractor. General Stanley McChrystal, ISAF Commander 2009 to 2010, now the Chairman on the board of Siemens Government Technologies, a member on the board of Knowledge International, and a member on the board of Navistar, all defense contractors. General David Petraeus, ISAF Commander 2010 to 2011, now a partner in and chairman on the board of KRR, a global investment firm. General John Allen, ISAF Commander 2011 to 2015, now a member on the board of Lockheed Martin, one of the biggest defense contractors. General Martin Dempsey, 2011 to 2015. Now a member on the board of USA Basketball. General Belan Ayyar, Afghanistan Joint Task Force Commander 2012 to 2014. Now the COO of Sevatac Incorporated and the CEO of Percipient.ai, both defense contractors. General Joseph Dunford, Chairman of Joint Chiefs 2015 to 2019, and ISAF Commander 2013 to 2014. Now a member on the board of Lockheed Martin. General John Campbell, ISAF Commander 2014 to 2016. Now a member on the board of BAE Systems, a defense contractor. General John Nicholson, ISAF Commander 2016 to 2018. Now President of Pentagon Federal Credit Union, a bank. In the brilliant video put together by the team at Empire Files, you can hear General Schlosser lie about how well America was doing in Afghanistan. You can actually hear General Mad Dog Mattis talk about how fun it is to shoot people. He actually said that. It was for good reason he got the nickname Mad Dog. This is eerily similar to the savage nicknames the Native Americans used to have. Now, Americans, of course, look down at the Native Americans as inferior people, as savage people. Well, if your own generals are being named Mad Dog by your own people, who are you to criticize the Native Americans for being savage? You're a more modern type of savage. But you mean General Mad Dog might as well become like a chief or something. You see how they distract the public with sideshows and unrelated anecdotes. Just listen to them overwhelm you with the imminent threat of terrorism. Hear them push the same old laughable human rights justification. Make the outrageous claim that America was welcomed as a liberator. How the U.S. and its allies in Afghanistan were not an occupation force. How America offered stability to the Middle East. General Peter Race even expresses the enormous pressure to get things done. The enormous pressure to get things done came from the business world, not from any strategic military requirement that would benefit the United States of America. Was it not former President Dwight D. Eisenhower who warned America of the military-industrial complex? Look at all of this. I mean, they sell you a war on ideology. They sell you everything, and you buy into it. And I've tried to explain how you bought into it, or how many people bought into it. How did this war on terrorism happen? Who were the constructs of it? And how did they sell it to you for 20 years, at least in Afghanistan? I focus on Afghanistan. You can talk about the Middle East, you can talk about other countries in perhaps different papers and different, but general idea was just the same. Sell the war on lies, and then keep it going on lies. All the while, these guys are making trillions of dollars. So that $8 trillion, of course, it was used to buy equipment and used to buy other things. And it's not like they just made profit of $8 trillion, but they made tons and tons of profit. Use your common sense. These guys make good money. So $8 trillion out of that, there's a good chance that $4 trillion was profit. I mean, we don't know exactly. And that's just what's on record. That's just what's officially been taken. Under the table, we don't know how much has been looted. But let's say $8 trillion includes the black money. It doesn't include the $8 trillion is what you charge America for defense, charge America for the bill, for the soldiers, for equipment, for everything, guns, tanks, what have you. That's what you charge the American government. That's what the generals will charge. This is how much money they need. This is the funding they need. But when they have an opium poppy field, when they're owners of opium poppy fields, and they're making money from the heroin trafficking, that's pure black money, and that's not included in the $8 trillion. So they made money on record, obviously, and even that was just, I have to say, unjustified. You didn't win the war. You didn't achieve anything. All you did is piss off Muslims who will remember and be resentful for centuries to come. You achieved nothing. You tortured American people. You stole trillions of dollars from the American people, all on lies. War after war, all in the name of a 9/11 that these monsters were themselves behind. That they enabled. They needed to happen. We talked about many of the reasons why they needed to happen. This is what they did. It's right in front of you. For money, they'll sell the entire world. It's a machine. It's a military-industrial complex. Eisenhower's farewell address. Before reading and listening to the next section, I would like you to watch former President Dwight Eisenhower's farewell address. And of course, the name of the video: Eisenhower farewell address, military-industrial complex warning. Doesn't it make... listen to that. Remind yourself that there were other people at times, presidents, who were not puppets of them. Because at that point, the military-industrial complex wasn't really established. Not right away. I mean, it took them time. But Eisenhower saw that happening right in front of him. And he warned the American public. Now that you've listened to it, and maybe you've already heard it before, you know it by heart, perhaps, doesn't it make you feel that Americans had the potential to be so much more than warmongering psychos? For all of those vested in America's future, those who truly wanted America to be more, doesn't it bring tears to your eyes? Isn't that the kind of American you want to be? Is this not the intelligence and wisdom and leadership America so desperately needs? When you watch movies like The Last of the Mohicans, doesn't it evoke the same type of feelings? The potential of this new land, the people's hopes and dreams, what America could have become, what it has become. Recall that things didn't really get better from here, as after Eisenhower, you had John F. Kennedy became president and was assassinated by the same shadowy groups Eisenhower warned about. Recall that JFK had one of the highest approval ratings, 83%, of not just America's history, but of all leaders of all nations of all time. And the audacity that the military-industrial complex showed then, when they had far less power and wealth than they have now. 83%. I mean, to have that kind of approval rating, that doesn't happen very often in human history. It's just some maybe religious leaders, like a prophet or something, that people are a religious leader, a holy person. That's the only type of person who could wield more support from people, or guarantee more support, more than 83%. Maybe it would be 95%. Maybe there's some snakes lurking against the person, pretending to be believers. Yeah, sure, that happens. But basically 90-95% of kind of approval ratings. This is not natural for kings, for presidents, prime ministers. It just doesn't happen. So the ages of mankind that have been on this earth, 83% approval rating. Very, very rare for any leader of any time, of any nation. And they had no problem getting rid of him. They wanted him dead. They killed him openly, publicly, where you can study and see the whole conspiracy is right there in front of you. You know where the bullet was coming from. You see the way his head jerked back, his brain matters on the what do you call it? The car. As the car's moving, his wife is. I mean, it's right there in front of you. They were willing to do that evil right in front of you. Then, when they weren't making trillions of dollars from wars in the Muslim world or any war. How sad that it has come to this. When you see the result, bad results, I mean, it's like an earthquake. The earth was already, earthquakes just don't happen in a vacuum. Obviously, there are processes that the earth is going through. I think it's vibrations. I think it's the magnetic poles. There's a lot of factors that go into obviously the Earth's diameter being different on one side, horizontally versus vertically on this axis or that axis. So there's a lot of factors, a lot of scientific factors as to why an earthquake happens. There's a background to that. It doesn't just happen in a vacuum. So now that these military-industrial complex, you see the results now, and you see how much they've completely taken over, and how they can just start war after war anytime they want. They own the media. They own everything. But it didn't just happen overnight. It's not like you weren't warned. Well, the American people in general weren't warned. They were. by a very intelligent, wise president, Dwight Eisenhower. Warmongering. As the American war machine has been waging endless conflicts all around the world, the ruling elites are not happy with the withdrawal from Afghanistan and wish that the war never ended. There's one video I shared here called General Dismantles Warmonger Tom Cotton to His Face. I think it was a senator who was grilling basically the generals for why they left Afghanistan. And he just responded. He said, you know what? One, I was given the order by my commander-in-chief. And two, I wouldn't have disobeyed it because this war had to end eventually. This is basically overall his argument. It's like, how long do you want this to go on? The American people want us to end the war. Why are you blaming me for it? So they were called into question like they did something wrong. Of course, since the ruling elites are upset about the war that ended in Afghanistan, they'll just put the same military budget into conflict zones elsewhere. In this analysis, as another video, Biden to UN. For the first time in 20 years, the U.S. is not at war. That's what Biden claimed at the UN. But that's a lie. Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk podcast calls Biden out about his lie that America is not at war. He gives Biden credit for having the courage to get the U.S. out of Afghanistan, but he lists out all of the places America is still engaged. Iraq's occupation and oil looting is ongoing. Syria is still being raped, with America occupying around 1/3 and stealing their oil. The U.S. is empowering Saudi Arabia to commit its atrocities against the people of Yemen. America is waging a shadow war in West Africa. Recall that Nigeria has significant oil and gas reserves. The U.S. has troops in Somalia. The U.S. imposing inhumane sanctions in Cuba that are causing unrest. There's a video I shared here. Cuba blames U.S. as the country sees biggest protests in decades, so according to DW News. America has been involved in Venezuela for many decades, including regime changes and torturous sanctions. There's a documentary by AJ Plus, Venezuelan Crisis, The Long History of U.S. Intervention. And this doesn't even include all of the drone strikes and military bases the U.S. empire has all around the world. Mike Rupert predicted this back in 2001 to 2005, that the U.S. was sowing the seeds of conflict in public opinion after 9/11 in West Africa, Venezuela, Colombia, Korea. We all know about North Korea right now. Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, the whole family, they're just after them, demonizing them. Why? So they can keep the conflict going on in Korea. Indonesia, and of course China. His theory was more related to oil and gas, but for whatever reason, the conflict is never ending. Even the degenerate, foul-mouthed Hollywood liberal Zionist mouthpiece, Bill Maher, had the decency to say back in 2013 that the U.S. should not be bombing all of these countries if Americans want to feel safe in their own home, in their own country. That's Bill Maher, New Rules, America's Next War, and Bombing Syria, Bill Maher, New Rules on Bombing Random Countries. Jimmy Dore, a progressive political analyst, talks about the war in Afghanistan, U.S. imperialism's never-ending thirst for war, Congress's passing of the Crow-Cheney amendment preventing Donald Trump from withdrawing from Afghanistan during his administration, and everything America could do to help women in their own country, as well as improve civil services and repair crumbling infrastructure. That's from the video Jimmy Dore, Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal, a distraction increasing U.S. imperialism. There is no end to their warmongering because of their very nature, which former President Dwight Eisenhower recognized at its very early stages and warned his country about. Eisenhower knew that while Americans were proud of the gains they had made scientifically, materialistically, and militarily, they should not lose their way morally, spiritually. He reiterated the national religious identity the country had then and encouraged his people to keep in touch with their roots and not go astray, drunk with power. He was afraid that alongside the industrialization and modernization, a new thought was prevailing, increasing the amoral, but really immoral, in nature, a mindset that only saw ends with no regards to the means, a mindset that wished to cut religion and morality out of all national interests, a mindset that would stop at nothing to achieve their goals, whether they were good for the nation or not. He predicted very accurately the danger the military-industrial complex poses to his own country's sovereignty and integrity, and the plague upon the entire world they could become if allowed. His warnings were largely ignored. And here we are. That's all we have for the military-industrial complex video. They were the main key points I wanted to discuss about the military-industrial complex, their background, and how powerful they are today, and their role in the 9/11 conspiracy, and of course the war in Afghanistan. What we're going to do in the next video is just conclude. We're going to get into how, tie it all back into 9/11 conspiracy. We discussed this throughout. Through each video section, we discussed how that affects the 9/11 conspiracy, but we're going to try to put it back into the same wording of the introduction video that I did, the Larry Silverstein World Trade Center complex video, and tie it into the same case we're basically making against the ruling elites, against the military-industrial complex, against the Zionists, call them whatever you want. Or the case we're making against the criminal elements of the government and powerful business interests, that they were behind 9/11. That 9/11 was in fact an inside job. So we're going to tie that all in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Feel free to comment about how I can improve the videos, and I'll do my best to do that. Thank you for watching. This is the Unwilling Pawn, signing off.